Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another fabulous show with Dave Hall, our retirement expert. Dave, I'm so glad you're with us again.
CR, is it Wednesday already? Where did the week go, man? It seems like we were just together yesterday.
Yeah, these weeks fly by, especially as we're always dealing with retirement. It seems like we get through one show, we have another show and another show.
Yeah, before I know it, I'm going to be out of retirement before I even got into it. I've got to slow this down some.
And not only that, Dave, it's talk about webinars. We have so many webinars, and we talked before the show about all the different webinars we have coming up, and you're continually adding more webinars as we speak.
We are. We've got two new ones coming up over the next couple of months and found out last night we're adding another one before the end of the month. June 1st, we'll be launching a new one dealing with the recession and what to do if you go through a recessionary period and how you can protect yourself. Great topic, but it was not something I had on my radar yet to be dealing with, but I guess we will.
So Dave, tell me about the power of these webinars and what they can convey out to those who are continually joining and watching those.
The biggest thing that we're trying to provide is the education people need to take action. We need to help people understand that there are so many risks out there that are going to destroy retirement, and we're seeing it happen across the nation. Help them understand what those are so they can take action now and solve the issue before it becomes a big problem.
And Dave, I love the fact that not only can we do those webinars, but we can come here after these shows and we can talk about the questions that people have, because Dave, once you're in that show, you get an hour, sometimes 2, sometimes 4 hours. It all just depends, but you don't get a chance to answer every question that comes through those.
No, especially when we're talking 5,000 questions or more a year, and trying to deal with that many questions in various webinars definitely takes extra time to try to go through additional questions, try to get people the information they need to have.
So we encourage you, if you are here with us live, to come on and ask your retirement questions. And it's a variety of topics. It's not just one area, right, Dave? You're not just like, oh, ask me only about annuities and that's it.
Absolutely not. And I'm seeing it on my side. We've been talking a little bit about it. We both lost family members over the last year. And unfortunately, in my family, it just seems to never end. And we're seeing the consequences happening in lives of my family members. A situation where a sister, she ended up getting divorced here in retirement, really struggling now financially. I had a brother who passed away before he got to retirement. A sister passed away who had kids that just gotten out of the house, trying to get them through college and those type of things. Now I just had a brother-in-law pass away, leaving a wife and a child who she's not quite retirement age yet. So all kinds of issues we're seeing of people. And unfortunately, my family is not planned. I'm the only one in my family that's really taken action. My brothers and sisters, even though I've talked to them many times, just not taking the action they need to, and it's creating havoc. And I'm just tired of seeing it, CR. I want people to be in better positions.
And Dave, our heart goes out to you, obviously, because I mean, this is the third one you've lost really close to you within the last year, which is painful.
It is, and just the effect it's having on my family. And again, even with the divorce of my sister, not that I was close to her husband, but just the effect it's having as she's trying to figure out, how do I adjust to a retirement now that does not have enough money, that's not going to get me through, that's going to require myself or others to be able to give her some money along the way to help her down that path. And what a challenge it is for her to realize that she's going to have to come, either reaching out or asking, saying, I can't make it, I need help. Again, CR, I'm just so tired of seeing this happen. I hope we can get people to take action, realize that they can do things that will get them into a better position so these things don't have to happen, and can prepare themselves. Again, we can't stop divorce. We can't stop death, but we sure can get ourselves in a better position if those type of things happen in our lives.
And that's why we're excited to have you here, Dave, as people continually come on our show and ask us all sorts of retirement questions, because again, we're hoping that they're taking one step closer to getting prepared for this. It's one thing to come on, Dave, where we just educate, but there's another thing about taking action. And I think that's something we've really tried to focus on this year.
Yeah, I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. I want to be the one that took action on the things I needed to in the room. The guy that did the most things to make things happen. And I think that's the thing we've got to understand. I can give all of you guys enough education to get yourself to where you'll know more than probably anyone you're talking to at a dinner table or an event. But that doesn't do anything for you. What helps you is to implement that into your life and into your retirement, so that then as you get through those years, you can not have to set up and worry about it. We're talking about this earlier, CR. Can you imagine every morning waking up, and especially right now as the market's fluctuating, can you imagine every morning in retirement waking up and being afraid that the market dropped another 10, 20, 30%, whatever the case may be. You don't have to do that. You can get to a position where you can get those checks coming in just like your paycheck. So yeah, I don't get up and worry every week that my paycheck's not going to come in. Now I'm the owner and you are. So as we look at it, it's ourselves we have to have responsibility for it. But most people don't worry about that. I think if you went and did a survey, very few people would worry their checks coming in. But most of us don't set up our retirement to where we've got a set paycheck, even though we can, to where we just wake up and if the market does its thing, yeah, it stinks, but I'm still getting my money this month.
And Dave, I love the passion behind it because that's something we talk about as well, is that there's no point of doing this if we don't love what we do and try to help people. And I think that's the one thing that I want those who are watching live and replay, that there has to be some passion with this, that you want to be able to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and your family.
There's nothing more exciting for me than to have someone send me an email telling me that it worked. Now, obviously, much of what we're talking about is going to take years to be able to play out. But to have people that talk about the things that we recommend and say, hey, I made a change. I had screwed up my Social Security and now I've got it right. It's going to save me thousands of dollars. Yeah, I end up in Medicare, was heading into Medicare, didn't think I needed to make choices here. I looked at my future situation with long-term care, didn't realize I even needed to do something. I didn't think it was that big of a risk. So fun to see people come back and say, thank you so much for getting us on the right path. That's already getting us in a better position.
And Dave, we are here again answering questions. I have a variety of questions that we're going to throw at you like we do every week. And I want to remind those who are with us live to go ahead and put a question in the comments. We'll do our best to get to those. Dave, I even love that we've got part of our team showing up here already saying, hey guys, they're here joining us from the back end.
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. Glad to have you with us.
So I want to encourage you to go ahead and submit your questions and we'll take a break. But Dave, I've got a lot of questions we try to get through in about 30 minutes here. So if you're okay, I'm going to pull up our first question of the day. And this one comes from Tiffany. She's 58. Will full retirement age be pushed back for Social Security in the years to come?
It is my belief that yes, it will. In fact, we've got that situation right now. You're seeing it get extended. It was because of what happened clear back in 1983. But if you retire 2022, your full retirement age 66 and 4 months. You retire in 2023 at 66 and 6 months. That'll continue to go on until we get to a point where 67 becomes a set full retirement age. I believe it's going to change. Now, Tiffany, for you at age 58, not going to affect you. When we look at these changes, they allow decades to be put in the middle of this. Again, 1983 to 2000, we had almost 40 years, 37 years there that we had a situation where it was not going to change. And then it starts changing. I don't think we got another 37, 40 years before we see these adjustments, but it's not going to be something that, hey, tomorrow we're going to change the laws and Tiffany, you're 58. And instead of having a full retirement age of 67, now you're going to have to wait till 70 or 72. We'll have time to prepare for it.
And David, is this the right time for Tiffany to take her retirement, her Social Security as well?
No, I mean, she's going to have to wait till 62 anyway, but I hope she waits until, in her situation and most, till 70. Now, don't know the facts regarding her situation, if she's married, what her income levels are, but too many people are pulling their money out so early and it's creating havoc. That's what my sister's dealing with right now. She pulled out her Social Security at age 62, thinking that it didn't make that big of an impact. Now she's living alone off of $1,200 a month, just trying to figure out how in the world she's going to survive.
So Dave, the other question we get asked a lot too is maybe 70 is good, but maybe I can wait till 72, 73. Is there any benefit to do that?
Absolutely not. 70 is the cap. That's where you're going to get the maximum benefit out of your Social Security. Yeah, we've got to understand, folks. I talk about my family. Unfortunately, we've got bad situation when it comes to living very long. Very few of my family members have lived into their 80s, and most of them died in their 60s. But from an American, statistics side, most of the rest of you have a lot of longevity out there, and we're just not planning for retirements that are going to last as long as they do.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for answering that question. We've got E-Ring joining us live from YouTube again, where we are on Facebook and YouTube. And they're asking, is Secure 2.0 the law yet?
No, it is not. So what he's talking about here, we had Secure Act 1.0 that made substantial changes to retirement planning. They've now got Secure Act 2.0 that has been proposed with a number of great changes, in my opinion, to help us. There's a few that people won't like that are being proposed, but a number of great changes to help us. It has not been passed yet. So hopefully soon, a lot of discussion. We're struggling right now to get a lot of anything passed, but hopefully people can come come together in the government to help us get this passed and get some better laws for our retirees.
And Dave, didn't you just release some information about this Secure 2.0?
Yeah, we did. We talked about a new webinar, Evolving Retirement Law. That is the class, the challenges, the changes, and your choices. We talk in that webinar about a number of proposed changes that are out there, including Secure 2.0 and all the various aspects of that law to help you then make the right choices as you move forward of what you should be doing with your retirement.
And with all of these, you can find them at retirementriskadvisors.com, and you can go on to CPE events, and you can find any of these events we talk about for the webinars. And you can also get all the information on the podcast as well. That's on the website as well, as you continually dive in each of these topics, Dave.
Yes.
All right, let's jump over to my next question here from Stacy. What is the best way to leave behind money after I pass to help care for a special needs child?
And my recommendation, and this is near and dear to my heart, I've got a special needs child now, an individual we adopted, Alexis. We adopted this last month. It's only been a month now, but she is going to need care for the rest of her life. The best option, in my opinion, special needs trust with a life insurance policy. If you can buy life insurance policies, again, it's someone like you, that if you're young enough, someone like me, if I were healthy, could buy that insurance policy pennies on the dollar right now and allow for a big nest egg to be built up. So if I pass away at any given time, there'd be the money there to take care of her. And we do have policies set up already that are now going to get transferred to her. We figured they may go to some of our other kids, but that, in my opinion, is your best structure.
And Dave, let's talk about this a little bit, because like you said, this is near and dear to you. I mean, is this something that, you plan for and you can really be prepared way ahead of time?
Absolutely. And everything that we talk about, and one of the things that I hope people understand, what I teach, I live. This is something that many people don't realize. They see financial advisors, and unfortunately, most financial advisors don't invest in the products that they sell. They're not out there investing their money in the same thing they're trying to get you to do. And again, my philosophy is I'm not going to recommend anything for your retirement that I would not do for my own if I were in your same situation. Now, your situation is going to be a little bit different, so the structure may be different, but I have annuities, I have life insurance, I have diversity, I have all these things, I have tax-free assets that are growing, I'm doing conversions, all these things that have to be done to get myself out of these risks. And I don't want to be part of that 50% that's running out of money, and I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make sure I'm on that other side, and definitely making the progress now to make sure I'm there.
And Dave, so if we are in this situation right now where I'm saying, okay, I need to make changes, but I just don't know how or where to start, I feel like that's the obstacle most people are facing right now. Is they're just at this point where they're saying, all this looks great, but how? How do I do something?
Absolute best thing you can do is sign up for our Getting Safely Through Retirement webinar. It's our flagship presentation, 2 hours that you're going to learn the risks that are going to destroy over 50% of America's retirement plan. You're going to be able to understand what they are. You're going to be able to see the financial impact it can have to you. You're going to get case study that you're going to be able to see if you do the right thing, and you're going to get the remaining strategies that you need to take care of these risks. I mean, in 2 hours to be able to get that much information, we find that we get great reviews on this webinar because it is the paradigm change. It's where people start realizing my retirement plan, my traditional advisor told me it was going to work. High probability it's not going to work for you by the time you get through retirement.
And if you do want to be part of this webinar, in fact, Dave, you do have one later today. It looks like in a few hours. So you can sign up, go to our website at retirementriskadvisors.com and click on the events tab, and you can get to this webinar. And if not, we've got a few other classes still.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's not the best 2 hours of time, I'll give you your money back. You're not going to pay anything for it. So, 100% money back guarantee, but it's the best free 2-hour class you're going to get. And you should be paying substantially more for this information because it's not being taught out there by the mainstream educators at the level we're doing it.
Yeah, definitely love that. Well, Dave, let's jump down to my next question here. The next one is, can annuities help account for inflation? And Dave, we talked about this before the show, so I'd love to, kind of dive more into this topic.
They definitely can. There's 2 ways that they can do it. There are riders, which are basically a paid for attachment you're going to put onto insurance products. There's a variety of riders that either an annuity or a life insurance policy may have. You can buy an inflation adjustment rider, but there are actually companies out there now that are inflation adjusting your income as the markets continue to go up. Now, it's not going to match inflation exactly, which some of the riders will, but if you've got a product that you know as the market continues to increase, I'm going to get more and more money every year. Pretty exciting to realize Social Security is now not your only source of inflation adjusted income as it is for so many people.
And Dave, as you talked about at the beginning of the show, it's watching that market go up and down, and I feel like that's something that so many of us are looking at by saying, I don't even know what to do, how to invest. But you're saying, hey, there may be some other option versus always waiting for that market to bring us comfort or make us sad.
Absolutely. And it's my job to look at these things. It's very hard because I'm a very optimistic person. And again, for my own family, extremely optimistic because we're doing the right things to get ourselves where we need to be. But it's very hard not to get pessimistic when we look across all the things I've got to deal with to say, hey, is the market going to drop? And what effects that going to have? Taxes going to go up? What effects that going to have? What happens if you have to take out way too much money? You look at the big pot when you get into retirement and think, I can give my kids 50 grand to buy a house. And then you never get the money back. And oh, wait, that was too much. Now I'm in my 80s and I'm broke. All of these things can be very negative, but it's all in an effort to get people where they really need to be. So again, I want you to wake up in the morning in retirement, love what you're doing, not have to worry a bit, and be able to spend that time either golfing, shopping, spending time with grandkids, traveling, do whatever you want to do and not worry.
That makes me excited, Dave. I want to be out, maybe doing all 8 of those,
Yeah,
So
yeah, in our lives with kids and everything we got, you can do all those in one day, it
yeah,
seems.
exactly. Well, Dave, we've got a number of questions coming in. Let's get over to Gary, and I'd say a bright early morning to Gary out there in San Francisco. We love having Gary pop on the show here. He's saying Cal Savers, a state mandated retirement plan, requires employers with 5 or more employees to cover its employees through the plan. If the employer has fewer than 5 employees, can the employer opt into Cal
Ooh.
Savers?
Gary, you got me on this one. I do not know. I am not super familiar with Cal Savers. One of the challenges from an education standpoint, each state has its own individual laws that impact those who are inside of those states. This is one of those. I do not know the answer to that.
Well, Dave, we'll continue to throw more questions at you. And Gary, thank you for that question. Dave, as an educator, how hard is it to gather all the information that continually comes through questions and through webinars that we get?
It's very difficult because there's always new laws being proposed, especially from a state side. You've got 50 different states that are all doing different things. You've got the federal government that's adding new laws consistently, especially as it relates to retirees, because they're realizing, same as us, that there's a lot of problems out there. People are going to struggle. And as a result, it's going to have an impact on the American economy. So we go forward. If you got all the retirees with no money, all of a sudden you've got a major economic crisis inside of America and where we're standing. So it is difficult, but I do have some good news for Gary, and it's in an invite. We will be in Vegas here on August 6th through the 9th.
It's
Not that
June.
far.
June.
Sorry, June, not August. Thank you for correcting that. June 6th through the 9th. Love to see you there. We keep talking about getting up to see you there in California, there in San Francisco. Fortunately, don't have time to make it, but love to see an AICPA conference there. We'll have a booth. If you get time to swing down that way, I'd love to be able to meet in person. And dinner's on us.
Yes.
Don't have to worry about it. Instead of being on you, happy to have it on us.
I would love that. Dave, I also have another question coming in through Facebook. Are there any proposed bills that may impact Social Security or Medicare?
There's a number of them out there. There's a 2100 Social Security bill. I'm not a fan of it. It's basically a short-term solution to many of the issues that are going on with Social Security to supposedly give the government more time to solve the problem. We've known Social Security was going to have an issue now for decades, so I'm not quite sure how much more time we need to give them, and the impact at long term is actually going to be far worse than what we're dealing with now. But we do have some other proposed changes out there to give better access. In fact, there was something just recently put into law or being proposed to get access, more accessibility to the lower income families that are dealing with Social Security and Medicare. We've got changes to Medicare coming. They're trying to deal with the cost of medicine there and what's happening. So don't have any latest updates. We will at the end of the year be doing an update webinar where we will be going through. It's going to be part of a live slash, I guess, an online event, but it's our summit where we do a 2-day CPE training, but part of that will be an update class that'll cover what's going on.
Dave, you're giving all the surprises away. Everyone's getting ready to get all the information. And I do want to let you know again, if you talk about all these different options, Dave, sometimes we can get onto the podcast. So anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can go look up the Retirement Risk Show. And Dave, you actually break down one of the Medicare pieces as you dive into some of these. So I encourage those who are on here who want more information on some of these areas. Obviously, we have our webinars and we also have the podcast. So you can go on and listen to more of your input as you're going through and breaking down a lot of these different areas in Social Security and Medicare.
Absolutely.
All right, Dave, let's get down to my next question here. Let's see, this is from Colin. My client has long-term care insurance, but wishes to be even more prepared. How can we go about saving, investing to help with other long-term care costs?
Yeah, number of things I can share with you. A number of things going through my mind right now. Number one is congratulations to this individual on having insurance. Only about 6% of America is prepared for a long-term care event, and about 35% of us will end up having a long-term care event where we become permanently disabled and need some help. So in addition to this, there's a couple of other things that can really help. One would be to look at a life insurance policy that has a chronic illness rider. It could provide some additional money if you don't have enough insurance to cover the event. Annuities now also offer a double increase in payments if you go into a long-term care event. So that can be a good one. Another one is really to just look at what the care is going to be. Try to get in an area where the care is going to be much less expensive than it otherwise might be. Meaning, hey, if I'm living in Chicago right now and a facility in Chicago is going to be $18,000, but I can move out into the suburbs or maybe even another part of Chicago, and it's not that big of a deal to me to move, or maybe even move to another state, and it's going to be $7,000 or $8,000 per month. Again, we're not talking per year or per quarter. We're talking per month. Going to be a big help in trying to adjust these costs. And I think that's one of the issues. Unfortunately, we get into these situations. We've lived in a big city our whole lives. Well, that means we got to go into the nursing home. Well, guess what? Many of you may not even have family there or friends. And if they are, most of them aren't coming into the nursing home that often to see you. So it may not be that bad of a situation to move outside of there. And then just take care of yourself. Do everything you can do from a physical and mental side, hopefully not end up having to have a long-term care event.
Dave, with the long-term care, if we're looking at this, how much of this do we need? I mean, between you and I, are one of us going to end up in a facility?
Yeah, again, 35% chance. So if you take you, I, and like Gary, let's say, chance one of us is going to end up in a facility, going to cost on average, so average stay 2.7 years for a male, 3.2 years for a female. Sorry, 2.2 years for male, 3.7 years for a female. But it's going to be somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000. So we've got to figure out how we're going to do this. And the problem is it's usually the one that ends up getting left. Many people end up having the money to get them through that initial phase, but the problem is there's not a lot left for that surviving spouse if they end up there.
Dave, the reason I really like Colin's question here is it's because they wish to even be more prepared. I think there's so much of us out there that aren't even prepared whatsoever for long-term care. So it makes me happy to see that some people are taking the extra initiative here to say, I want to do more.
Absolutely. And it's what we've all got to do. That's really what we need to be doing ourselves, is to make sure we do what we can and extend it out as far as we can. Because again, take any of those situations. If you don't end up in a long-term care event, now I don't know the details of the long-term care policy, whether it has a death benefit or not, but everything else you've got there, it's got other benefits you're going to be able to use and get some enjoyment out of during your retirement.
Yeah. Well, Dave, let's keep moving along. I've got E-Ring jumping in from YouTube. Have a great time at the AICPA conference. I've attended that conference in the past, and I will be in Florida on vacation.
Well, I'm not sure, CR, if we need to go to Florida with him or just tell him he's got to cancel his trip and come back to the conference.
I mean, it is a great conference, Dave. We've been there several times, and it's been a really great treat. But vacation in Florida sounds pretty great.
Yeah, very excited to be there, to be able to spend time in Vegas. It's definitely a place I've spent a lot of time. I lived there for a decade, had offices there for 25 plus years now. So definitely some place that I like to go back. I have a lot of friends there, but we're going to miss you. Wish we had an opportunity to meet you and anyone else. If you are going to be there, please make sure you come to our booth and introduce yourself. I'd like to get to know you better.
Yeah, really excited. We've got some really fun things prepared for that. So we hope that if you have a chance and you are there, we would love to see you there. All right, Dave, let's jump over to my next question. We've got a little bit of time left. Augie is 57. With inflation still on the rise, is there a way to calculate its impact on my retirement?
Yes, there is. There's a simple calculation that's going to give you a general idea of the impact, and it's using the rule of 72. Well, I say in reverse. So typically we use the rule of 72 to figure out how long it's going to take for our assets to double. So if you've got $100,000, you're getting 8% rate of return. In 9 years, you'd have 200,000. Another 9 years, you'd have approximately 400,000. If we have a 6% inflation rate, divide that into 12, or into 72, basically we get 12. Within 12 years, we're going to have about half the buying power that we started with. So if you had $100,000 today in 2022, by the time you 2034, it's only going to buy 50,000. And this is becoming very problematic, CR. So again, we're 8, 9. I mean, I don't know what inflation is going to land at, and really depends on where you're spending your money. I mean, in a grocery store lately, I'm seeing prices 20 and 30%. It's not 8 or 9%. So if a lot of your money is going to the grocery store, it's going to be higher for you. But we're going to see a major impact. Now, I don't think that's going to last. But as you look at it, that's killing people that have money in cash. It's destroying their ability to buy stuff.
Dave, what can we do to prepare ourselves? Because, like you said, I go to the grocery store all the time, and I can really feel the impact right now, that 20 and 30%, because I see it a lot. But what else can we do right now?
We've got to get products that help try to keep up with it. Now, we may have products that have been historically kept up with inflation that are going to lag a little bit because it's so high right now. But you take an 8 or 9% compared to a 0.25% you're getting in your bank account, you just got hosed. I mean, that's basically like losing 8% in the market because your cash buying ability just lost that, depending on where you have your assets. And if it happens again another year, now you're down 16%. I mean, all these things we talk about have a major impact, because what happens with inflation, most of us don't adjust down our lifestyle. Meaning, hey, we were making, living off $50,000 last year. Now it truly is going to cost us $54,000 to live off of. Well, guess what? We go out and get 54,000 out of our retirement accounts now because we got to pay for all these things. That means you're liquidating your assets much faster. Another area, CR, and again, over 50% will run out of money, and it's going to get higher. I mean, this is a sad thing about the statistics I'm giving here. We're not going the other way. We're not saying 68% people worry about it and it's going to go down to 50. No, we're saying 68 are worrying about it, probably going to go to 70, 75. 50% are actually running out of money. It's probably going to go to 50 or 60%. Folks, it is not going to be a pretty picture with the way we're preparing for our retirements, because people just aren't putting in the time to do it.
And Dave, like you talk about, you're optimistic. You have a lot of hope for the future. But as we talk about this, it does seem alarming. Like, hey, we've got to do something. And what you're saying is, hey, there's still hope here. There's still a bright light. We just have to make sure that we're prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think of any of the story, Chicken Little, any of the stories out there, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. I mean, we've got these various stories out there of things that are happening. And the real answer is, and just prepare yourself. If you look at any history where things have been looking not up, bright and uplifting, we've just got to prepare ourselves. And all of a sudden that downturn isn't such a bad thing for us.
I totally agree. Well, Dave, I'm going to try to squeeze one more question in here just before we have to go. This is from Candace. She's age 60. I have a 401k and that is all. What should be the next retirement account I open?
Well, yeah, let me talk about this on a couple of levels. Number one, I hope that's a Roth 401k. If it's not, I definitely recommend that you look at the option of getting a Roth set in place and maybe transitioning some money. But another option, depending on the money you have available out there, what we see from many people is they're using products like life insurance retirement plans, where you're able to get more into that tax-free bucket. Big issue most people have, we max out our Roth accounts. We can't get any more into it. And yet we've got higher taxes in the future. We've got market risk. And yet we've got a product out there that can help us deal with both of those, from money that was already in a taxable bucket to get it tax-free, to take out the market risk that it's never going to go down, and to provide a bundle of other benefits. So definitely something I'd look at. But again, my best recommendation, set with an advisor. You've got to get someone who can map this out, because we need to understand how this is going to play out in the overall scheme of your retirement.
So Dave, you're saying Candace at age 60, it's not too late for her.
Absolutely not. We see many people, again, you take someone that's 60 and have no idea her health, but if she works till age 70, can put in right now $27,000 even into a 401k account. Take that over a decade, that's 270 plus growth, plus anything else she has. If she's got Social Security, and retirement doesn't probably look that bad in that situation, even if she started now and was broke. Saying, hey, look, all I've got is my Social Security. People don't realize if we can just work longer, and I know we want to retire. I know someone like myself that's got health issues and family that's died young. I'll probably retire a little earlier than I thought. I may still do some part-time stuff, but whether that's 60, 65, whatever it ends up being. But the best thing we can do for ourselves is to keep working if we don't have enough money, because not only does it keep us from spending down, hopefully it gives us some money to save to allow us to get into a better position.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for coming on and answering all these questions. And I want to remind those that if you did not get your question in, we're always here. Every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time, we are here to answer your questions live. And you can also submit those at retirementriskadvisors.com. Go to the Contact Us page and go ahead and submit your question. We'll do our best to get those on future shows. Or like E-Ring or Gary, show up live and answer. We'll ask your question and we'll get those answered. And again, if we can't get to all the questions, we'll do our best to continue to put those on future shows. Dave, thank you so much for being here. And I just always love to get your final advice before we part.
Yeah, final advice today is going to be really to look inside yourself. Look at what you're doing. What are the decisions you're making right now? And how can you be better tomorrow? What could you do either from a financial standpoint, from a life standpoint? What is something that you've always maybe wanted to work on within yourself that you've not taken the time for? Make that small change. Either we're moving forward or we're moving backwards. We really can't just sit on the fence and wait and think we can just ride things out. Do something for yourself today. If you'll do that, you'll be happy because you're going to be able to do that the next day and the next day. And yes, you may slip back on different things, but if we continue to try to progress, what we find is sooner or later we get where we really want to be.
Well, Dave, again, thank you so much. Very, very insightful. I appreciate your time, and we will see you and everyone else again next week.
You're welcome.
See ya.
Bye.